Fools fool you, so do you, and lose dudes that want you to lose. So X can use you as a stat, but they have been wrong. You are not defined by just your skin tone.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Let's talk about NWA Powerrr from July the 6th, 2021. So this was a pretty action-packed episode. There was a lot of stuff in it that I thought was pretty good. There was also some things in it, of course, I didn't like. But let's go through the show. So Sal Rinauro wrestled the Pope for the television title. This was match 6 of 7 for Pope. You know, if you get 7 defenses, he gets a world title match. And of course, he wins this match with the Elijah Express because Sal Rinauro is a job guy. Of course, they tried to make the excuse that Sal had gotten jumped by Colby Carino a week or so ago. And then he had a broken collarbone or something like that. It wouldn't have made a difference. He's a loser anyway. Tyrus, Jordan Clearwater, Black G's, and Austin Idol came out and they threatened the Pope and after the match. And then they got to cut a promo where they talked about whether Pope would make it to Lucky 7. And that Austin Idol said he hadn't beat anybody, that he couldn't get a match with any real big league talent. But now he will, because he's going to wrestle Tyrus again for the television title. So it's going to be Tyrus versus Pope 3. And I expect Tyrus to actually win the title this time. The first match was, I believe, a count out. The second match, Tyrus won through some chicanery, and I expect Tyrus to win this match too. So this is all fine, I guess. I'm not so sure how I like this stable. I don't see how the stable fits together. But because you have 2 mouthpieces in Black G's and Austin Idol in the same stable. I'm pretty sure Black G's is not going to transform into a wrestler considering he's a garden gnome. Anyway, second match was Thunder Rosa and Sky Blue versus Serena Deeb and Kylie Ray. And this is, again, things that involve Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb. Not as good as you would think. The match itself was fine. But for some reason, Serena Deeb was working heel. And that was that she was kind of running from Thunder Rosa, not really wanting to wrestle her. Was cutting some corners here and there. So she is being positioned as being the heel. While Kylie Ray, who is, I'm guessing, still a heel. Because she doesn't have, I don't know, man. It's hard to tell. But Sky Blue ends up submitting to Kylie Ray. And so the winners were Kylie Ray and Serena Deeb. Okay. I expected better from this Deeb Thunder Rosa thing. I think Thunder Rosa should probably be the heel, if we're being honest. Because she has a little bit more personality than Serena Deeb. But hey, whatever. And then we get to what was the worst of the week. This was really bad. So the War Kings, this is Jax Dane and Crimson. They're talking. And Jax Dane is like, it's just some text messages, bro. It was just some text messages. And everybody is like, what are you talking about? And he just keeps saying, look, it was just some text messages. I don't want you to get upset. Promise me you won't get upset. And Jax Dane is like a big dude with like large arms. And he's like begging Crimson not to get mad. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? Would you please spit out what the issue is? And then he finally says, can we just call this guy out? And out comes Slice Boogie. Slice Boogie. I look. And Crimson is like, oh, you and this guy? You and this guy? And he did get mad and he walked off. And like, what the fuck? What they played this thing up like Jax Dane was trying to fuck Crimson's wife, or something like that. Like it was just me and your wife, man. It was just it's just things happen, bro. But it was just kind of like it was just some text messages. And you're like, what the fuck? Are you like you're cheating on him? Why was there so much melodrama in this segment? And then we didn't get what the hell the text messages were about. We didn't understand what was going on. They both agreed last week that Slice Boogie was not bad, was not a bad dude. He was just, he cost him the tag team championships and therefore he had to get his ass kicked. That's all they really said about him. Crimson, he's not Crimson's mortal enemy. Like he didn't try to cut his nuts off or anything like that. This does not need the melodrama that they brought to the scene. It was so bad. It was so awful. I hate when people try to milk things and you don't understand or don't know why they're milking it. This was the shits. All right. This was god fucking awful. Oh, it was so frustrating. Because I was just kind of like, okay, I get that, siding with your tag partner's enemy, trying to befriend him. is one thing, but he already knows that you don't think that he's that bad of a guy. It's not like it's a secret, And then what are y'all texting about? What was going? There was no explanation of what they was texting about or nothing. This was stupid. This was all dumb. This was real dumb. Anyway, Kratos had a promo with May Valentine, and Kratos talked about it was great being a tag team champion and that he was hired to win, and that's the most important thing. And now Aaron Stevens is starting to learn that, and that respect is earned. And then May Valentine asked him if he respected Aaron Stevens, and he said respect is earned, and that he kind of likes Stevens, but respect is earned. In other words, no, he doesn't. Then he had a third match. La Rebellion, Bestia 666, and Mecha Wolf teaming with Homicide, who was a surprise here, versus PJ and Luke Hawx and El Rudo in a Lucha Rules match. I mean, the irony of a guy named El Rudo, which means the heel, or, in Spanish, is working babyface. I mean, the brain trust down in Atlanta. Now, I get it that Sam Adonis is the name of the guy, but you don't want to confuse him with Chris Adonis. Only AEW was dumb enough to let characters run around with the same name. Everybody else is smart enough to know that you don't name characters the same name unless they're related in some way. Everybody else is smart. But anyway, this was a Lucha Rule 6-man tag, which means there was no tags necessary and that kind of stuff. I actually liked this match. I actually enjoyed it. PJ Hawx being the young guy, was not really a fan of the idea of wrestling Homicide, because Homicide has a reputation of not being a wrestler, of just being a brawler. And PJ being, of course, the kid of the group, it's kind of like, I wasn't ready for this. I'm not prepared to wrestle this guy. And even though he's the baby face, he's still putting up some resistance to wrestling a guy who doesn't wrestle. Basically of Homicide turning it into a fight. And that's exactly what happens in the match. When Homicide comes in, everything just starts to break down. And the finish comes with Luke Hawx getting pinned by Mecha Wolf with a 450 splash. I didn't mind this. I thought this was okay. I didn't hate this. Homicide was a good surprise. Big fan of Bestia and Mecha Wolf. Like those guys. The babyface team though, not so much. Now the main event was really good. JTG and versus Chris Adonis for the national title. This is a tournament final. Both of them won triple threat matches to get to this point. The match itself was pretty standard. Both guys are better than they were in WWE. I got to give them credit for that. Trevor Murdoch was on commentary. He is not better than he was in WWE. And the finish was actually pretty fucking good. Now, each guy the week before had pretty much gotten a corner man. Chris Adonis had Tom Latimer, and JTG had Fred Rosser, who was Darren Young in WWE. Now, neither of the cornermen came out, so the match was pretty much set up one-on-one, no cornerman or anything like that. Chris Adonis shoved JTG into the ropes chest first, and he bounced off the ropes into the master lock. And it was pretty sweet because it didn't take a lot of setup. And so we get this beautiful spot where JTG is trying to break the master lock, and the camera is like, and they tilt it in a way where you can see Adonis's fingers as they start to separate, and you can see his fingers turning white, and you can see how he's struggling to hold the move on. And then he's, and JTG's like really struggling to get loose, and you can see Adonis really struggling to hold on. It was excellent. Beautiful camera work. Then Adonis lets the hold go rather than let JTG break it. He broke the hold on his own. He punched him in the back of the head a couple of times and then put it back on. At this point, JTG was pretty much burnt out. And they did the old 1980s arm raise spot where JTG was pretty much, he couldn't move. And he lifted his arm once, lifted his arm twice, and then Fred Rosser threw in the towel. And Trevor Murdoch was absolutely offended by this. Like he didn't go as crazy as Joe Galley did when his Strictly Business was cheating. But he was kind of like, oh no, what are you doing? Fred Rosser just demanded that he ring the bell. Like, no more. He can't take anymore. So Trevor Murdoch was like, you took this match from him. And it ended up being a sort of a post-match promo. Like, Chris Adonis won the title, but that was not really the important thing. The important thing is, and afterwards, Chris Adonis actually thanks Fred Rosser for ending the match early. Fred Rosser, like, that's my boy. I promised to have his back. There'll be other days. He was hurt. He was passing out. Trevor Murdoch was like, this guy's a man. You had to let him lose on his own accord. You took this match from him, essentially. Like, you should have just let him lose. If he was going to lose, if you feel like he was going to lose, he only had one more arm dropping, and that would have been it anyway. Like, he deserves that chance. He deserved the chance. And Fred Rosser was like, nope, I promised him that I would look after him. I promised him that's my boy. There'll be other days. He'll have other opportunities. I love this finish. Sure, it didn't make much sense to have the guy throw in the towel at the very last, arm raise. But I love the finish because it protected JTG. It still got the desired result. And Chris Adonis winning clean didn't happen. He got aided by Fred Rosser. So it didn't kill JTG at all. Also, you get some kind of conflicted feelings towards Fred Rosser because you're like, okay, did he do the right thing or not? Obviously, he didn't. Of course, that leads to the question of, is he going to be recruited for Strictly Business? Is that possible? Who knows? So you have those questions in this finish rather than just a straight up Chris Adonis wins and now we don't know what to do with JTG or anyone else at this point in time. Now you have a plethora of questions and some storytelling to do in the future weeks because Fred Rosser prematurely ended the match. So I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed this match. This match was really good. So this was a mostly good episode of Dynamite. I'll call it Dynamite. Mostly good episode of Power, with the exception of the War King stuff, which was absolutely awful. And I really am not feeling Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb. I'm just not feeling it. You've still got Thunder Rosa calling her a bitch and saying that she's trying to steal her shine. And I'm just kind of like, I don't understand why that's the case or how she's trying to steal your shine. If you're going to be paranoid, that's kind of a heel thing, but whatever. But anyway, thanks guys for listening. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel via Subscribe Star or buy me lunch via the Cash App. Either way it goes, thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Tell me what's worse than learning all that you led to believe was all horse crap. They distort, so question as if you